And this was a guy by the name of Frank Ross and stuff, and Frank became my big brother. What was so funny is I thought I was doing real well at practice and stuff, but Coach Dooley was always saying that I wasn't doing so well, and I would call home, and my mom would always tell me, and this is my mom's word, Herschel, don't worry about it. The Lord is making a way for you. I remember thinking, what does God got to do with football and stuff? But I kept doing this thing, and I remember they told me that we were going to play the University of Tennessee in Knoxville, Tennessee, and everyone telling me there's 92,000 people there. And I think they gave Georgia like 2,000 seats, but they put them in the end zone so they couldn't be seen or heard and stuff. And I remember Coach Dooley telling me that I was not going to play. And I showed up at that game and stuff and thinking I'm not going to play. And, you know, we were getting beat like 15-0. And I remember Coach Cameron was saying he was going up and they were debating whether they're going to ask Coach Dooley, let me in, and this and that. And then there was a chant, there was some people in the stands started saying, we want Herschel. Think about it now. My mom also said, man can't stop what God has in store for you. Because now Coach Dooley decided to put me in. I don't think he was going to let me play but a couple of plays and take me out. Well, he put me in the game, and we ended up winning this game now, 16-15. So the next game against Texas A&M, he's got to let me play. And I think we beat Texas A&M 42-0. I have 180-something yards, 3 touchdowns, and in 3 quarters. So now I got to play the rest of the season, beat Notre Dame for the national championship. And they said, Herschel, you're nominated for the Heisman Trophy as a freshman and stuff, and everybody get excited about it and stuff. And I pretended I got excited. I'm going to tell you all your story. I didn't even know what the Heisman Trophy was. Because I never followed football growing up. I never watched football on TV. You know, I played football because I didn't want to wash dishes growing up. My mom used to make me wash dishes and stuff, so I figured, shoot, if I play football, I don't have to wash dishes and stuff. Now I got to wash dishes and play football, so that don't get you out of football. Anyway, so I went to the library to read about the Heisman Trophy. Not that we didn't have laptops and stuff back in those days, but we really didn't. But anyway, so I went to the library to read about the Heisman Trophy, and I go, man, that's a big-time reward. It'd be great for me to win the Heisman Trophy because the University of Georgia deserved the Heisman Trophy because, you know, we won the national championship and all that stuff. And they didn't give it to me, if y'all can remember that. They gave it to George Rogers at South Carolina. Yeah, I know I was better than George Rogers at South Carolina. Anyway, it was another great thing that was happening because we had another great year and stuff and having a great time and stuff. And then I'm getting nominated again for the Heisman Trophy. But what's so funny about it is they didn't give it to me that year. They gave it to Marcus Allen at USC. And yeah, I'm better looking than Marcus Allen at USC. But anyway, going into my junior year, and I don't even think Coach Kevin knew this. You know, Herschel Walker, and I talk about myself in third person, I'm a very different type of person. And my mind thinks about so many different things because I was diagnosed as having DID. That's like having all these personalities. So I decided, you know what, have I not played football at the University of Georgia? Is it not time for me to do something Herschel wanted to do? So I felt that it may be time for me to join the Marines. So I was going to sneak away from the University of Georgia and go sign a letter and go into the Marines. That's when I ended up breaking my thumb. That's the practice I broke my thumb. The day I was going to leave to go join the Marines, I broke my thumb. And I remember thinking, crap, you know, God don't love me because now I can't go join the Marines. And now, you know, my father got to pay for this surgery because my parents had to pay for the surgery. And, you know, we didn't have any money. I tell people we were so poor, we couldn't even afford to go already poor, so we were just poor and stuff. So I had to go to the hospital and they did what you call a local, where they cut the circulation off in your arm. You can watch them do the surgery. So they cut the circulation off my arm and I watch them put the bone back in place. But what was amazing to me, they had a power protector drill that they got from some hardware store. They had some pins about this long. They had some wire cutters that they probably got from the same hardware store. So he put my bone back in place, and he took those pins and put them in that drill, and he drilled these pins in my finger. He crossed them like this here. Then he took the wire cutters and cut those pins off and wrapped my hand up and stuff. And I remember thinking, my dad could do that. It cost me nothing. Anyway, I remember when I was leaving that hospital room, there was a nun coming in, and she said, you look like, and I said, Herschel Walker. She said, what happened? I said, I broke my thumb. She said, the Lord is making a way for you. I remember thinking, she must know my mom. So, anyway, I got back to the practice. And I remember they had this shed up there at the practice field. And they had me underneath this shed, and I was sitting there, and they got the fan on me, and the trainers bringing me cold water and stuff. And and everybody asked me if I was okay and stuff. It was real hot, you know, this is during the summer, it's real hot when the guy was, you know, I don't know if you've ever been in Georgia, you think it's hot here, it is hot in Georgia too. Let me tell you, I saw a dog chasing a rabbit, both of them was walking, that's how hot it was, but I'm telling you, but as I was there sitting underneath the shed, I started thinking that my teammates are worried about me, that everyone's worried about how I was doing, how I was feeling, and what was going on in my life, and I realized how selfish I've been. That I've been so selfish thinking about Herschel leaving, going to the Marines, and I said, no, I want to stay here with these guys in my junior year. But now we have another good year, and now I win the Heisman Trophy. But now, I don't think I deserve it. Because John Elway had a great year, Dan Marino had a pretty good year. Eric Dickinson, who just tweeted about 6 months ago, that he should have won the Heisman Trophy the year I won it. So I tweeted about it, we can fight about it. Anyway, so now that my junior year is up and stuff, and this USFL thing came along, I flipped the coin, people don't know I flipped the coin, go to the USFL instead, Georgia, said go to the USFL, so I flew off to New York. That's how Donald Trump came in my life, and everybody asked me about Donald Trump hair. That is Donald Trump's hair, but what he does, he put a lot of mousse in his hair and stuff, and he brushes it over and stuff, and if you put Jerry curl and then like put a curl down the middle, it look much better. But anyway, but you know, little Donald, little Ivanka, I sort of helped to raise little Donald, little Ivanka, so I've known Donald before he became the Donald and everything, so all of a sudden now this USFL thing is almost over and stuff, and you know, in my life I've just had all these trials and stuff, and so the USFL is almost over, and I was doing an interview with ESPN, and they said, Herschel, where would you like to go play in the NFL? And I said, well, sir, I don't know. I don't watch football. I said, well, I have two brothers that love the Dallas Cowboys, so I'd love to go to Dallas. He laughed in my face. He said, Dallas not going to draft for you because they got Tony Dorsett. I said, you didn't ask me who was going to draft for me. You asked me where I'd like to go play. He left my home, almost laughing in my face. And 5 minutes after my door slammed, my phone rang. So Herschel, this is Ted Schramm from the Dallas Cowboys. We just drafted you to the Dallas Cowboys. And I fly off to Dallas, and let me tell you guys, I play with the finest coach to ever coach football, Tom Landry. He was an absolute incredible man. I played with Tony Dorsett. I don't know if some of you ever watched. Tony Dorsett can play. This is incredible running. I played with Randy White. I saw Randy White pitch up there. Ed Too Tall Jones. I played with all these legends and stuff. And all of a sudden I was there for 3 years, and I heard someone from Arkansas going to come in and buy the Dallas Cowboys. I'm thinking, Arkansas? There's nothing in Arkansas but chickens and Walmart. Well, I'm wrong because a guy by the name of Jerry Jones comes in and buys the Dallas Cowboys. He bought the Dallas Cowboys, and they fired Coach Landry. They brings in Jimmy Johnson. Now I go to training camp for 5 weeks with the new Dallas Cowboys, and you know, I'm having an okay time. Everything is okay and stuff, and also we get back out to training camp. I'm sitting in my home about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I know it's 4 o'clock, or Judge Judy comes on at 4 o'clock. I don't miss Judge Judy for anybody. But my phone rung and stuff, and then all of a sudden, it was Jimmy Johnson. Herschel, can you come over and see me for a moment? So all of a sudden, I get in my car and start driving over to the complex, and I was known around the league at that time as what you call a cleaner. A cleaner, not like a mafia cleaner, not that kind of cleaner, but a cleaner is a player that goes in and help other players that's having trouble. If you're having marital trouble, if you're having any kind of trouble, I go in and I sort of smooth things over. So as I'm driving up to the complex and running down the list, who could be in trouble, who may have problems and stuff. And I walk into Coach Landry's old office, his secretary was crying. Now my thought goes to who may have passed away. I walk into Coach Landry's old office now, into the office, and Jimmy Johnson is sitting at the desk. Jerry Jones is standing by the window. Jimmy Johnson jumped up and said, Herschel, we just traded you to Minnesota. What do you think? I'm going to go outside and think about this. I didn't even shake his hand. I turned around and walked into the parking lot, and I said, you know what? I'm going home. I got in my car and I drove home. I got home and Cindy said, what do they want? I said, Jimmy just told me they traded me to Minnesota. She said, they can't trade you to Minnesota because you got a no-trade clause in the contract. I was the first player in the NFL to have a no-trade clause in my contract. So I called my agent and said the same thing. He flew into Dallas the next morning, walked into Jimmy's office. Jimmy said, hey, we traded Herschel to Minnesota. What do you think? Peter said, have you looked at Herschel contract? Jerry Jones and Jimmy Johnson never looked at my contract, but they opened my contract up. At the bottom of my contract, it said, Herschel Walker cannot be traded unless he consents to the trade. And y'all know what? Herschel Walker hate cold weather, so I'm not going to Minnesota. So I stayed in Dallas for 5 games. And if you can remember that I stayed in Dallas for 5 games, because I am not going to Minnesota. After the 5th game, Mike Dean, who just passed away, called up Jerry Jones and said, Jerry, if you don't get Herschel Walker in Minnesota, we're going to sue the Dallas Cowboys. So Jerry met with Peter at my home in Las Colinas, and Jerry said, Peter, can you get Herschel in Minnesota? What do we have to do to get Herschel in Minnesota? Peter came to my house with Sandy and myself. We sit down, and Peter said, Jerry, I want to know what do he need to do to get you in Minnesota? And like I told you guys, I hate cold weather, so I'm not going to Minnesota. But if Jerry want to know what he want to do for us, this is what he can do. We start thinking of all this crazy stuff. We really didn't want him, but we're going to let Jerry Jones know we're not going to Minnesota. Like, we want all this money. We want a house every year we play, everywhere we play. We want a new car every year we play. We want this, I'm going to use this plane for a year. I want all this stuff. Peter said, Herschel, he ain't going to give you all that stuff. I said, Peter, you didn't ask me what he was going to give me. You asked me what I want. Peter said, I want a bass boat. I said, put it on the list then, Peter. The prediction came about this long. We went on to the 4th season to meet with Jerry Jones. Jerry was in the lobby, and Jerry walked up to Peter, and Jerry said, what do we need to do to get Herschel in Minnesota? So Peter said, laughing, jokingly, Herschel said, if you agree to this here, be in Minnesota tomorrow. Jerry grabbed the list, never looked at it. He signed it, got someone to witness it. Peter said, you serious? Peter showed up at my home and said, Jerry agreed to everything. I went, what? I said, where is Minnesota at? I don't know what Minnesota at.